Hi, my name is Erika Schreck, and I'm bringing you an answer to a question that I recently received. And it's actually a great idea for a video. So thank you, Amy Carlson. Shout out to you, my dear, because recently you asked or suggested, hey, you should do a video about 2020 being a 4-year in numerology. Let me tell you what that's about, and let's look at what that means and how it impacts you. All right, so when we look at, first of all, numerology and what it is, a lot of you are familiar with a person named Pythagoras, perhaps from math class, right? When you were learning about the Pythagorean theorem, ring a bell? Well, not only was Pythagoras a mathematician, he also was a mystic, and he found and created a system based on our birth dates and based on dates in general, that when, for example, we add your birth date all together and we end up with a single digit, I'm just giving you the basics for now, you have something called a life path number or a destiny number, right? There are some other ways that we can configure and add up your birth date and find other influences for you. So similar to astrology, numerology gives us this beautiful way of determining some of our patterns, maybe what jobs might be best for us, all of that. So if you want to learn more, I actually do full numerology profiles, and it's an exciting tool that I've been personally studying and using for the last 12 years. So that said, one of the ways that numerology helps us and supports us all individually and even as a planet is when we look at what cycle we are in for a given calendar year. Each new calendar year brings a new flavor. So two ways to look at this. One, a lot of us look at the weather report. We want to know what today's weather is going to be. Do we need a raincoat? Is it going to be cold? Okay, you get the idea. So when I look at numerology and personal year cycles, or cycles for a given calendar year for the planet, I think that it's kind of like getting the weather report, because you have free will and you're still going to live your life, you're still going to make your decisions, but the weather might impact some of your plans. So in numerology, a personal year influence is like that. And you have a personal year as an individual given your specific birth date in conjunction with the current calendar year. And then the whole planet has its own experience and flavor just overall, because we can take the year, for example, 2020, and it adds up to 4, and that is the personal year for the world, for the planet. Okay, so we're going to look at what that 4 means. Why should you care about this? Why does this matter? So first of all, weather report, okay? Secondly, another way to look at this is astrology. And when we look at astrology, we hear things like, oh, the new moon's in Cancer right now. You know what that means. Or we're going through, this sign right now. So any time of year, the sign, the sun sign, or the time that you were born, if you're an Aries, it's because you were born in a certain time frame, right? And so even though we all have our own sun sign, we are influenced astrologically, okay? We have, again, moons in different planets. We have planets retrograde. All of these things are valuable to know if you want to know, if you want some spiritual explanation for certain things in your life. And so similarly, numerology has that influence. So even though you have your own personal year and personal experience, okay, just like you might be an Aries sun sign, but maybe we're in, Gemini season or something. So what does that mean for you? What does it mean when a full moon is in this sign? And if you look online, there's a lot of this kind of talk. If you're an Aries and it's the Sagittarius full moon, this is how it influences you and impacts you. So this is a language, this is a system that we're used to with other tools like astrology, and I'm using that because a lot of you are maybe even more familiar with astrology. Numerology has its own value and its own system, so that's what I'm here today to explain. Okay, so let's get into it. So again, when we look at 2020, we have the 2 and the 2, which equal a 4. And I want to just say that 4 energy in general is going to bring a lot of influence on our schedules. It's going to bring a lot of influence on our stability, our foundation, our work, our goals, and our priorities. And a lot of times when I say to anyone who is in a cycle of 4-year energy, now as a planet, we're experiencing a 4 personal year, but you might not be. And that's something that we can talk about if you ever want to do more work with me on this. But I'm here to tell you, again, the weather report and how we might be affected. And as we know, worldwide, we are experiencing a pandemic. We have all been impacted by the fact that we are not supposed to be in person with people as much, or that we have protective measures. There's mask wearing. Some people's businesses have not been able to proceed because of these new restrictions. It's interesting that we are in a 4-year overall, because again, when we look at foundation, we look at work, we look at stability and safety. One of the guiding things that I say to people who are even personally in a 4-year, that flavor of the 4, is I often say, look at your schedule, look at your time, look at the way your home is organized, the way you're moving through your life, what's working, and what systems do you need to change? Do you need to shift because it's not the best use of your time, or you're not being as efficient? Okay. It's also looking at how you organize your life. Again, what's serving you and what's not. So when we have this huge unexpected event that we do in 2020, for example, because I'm sure that's on a lot of your minds, it kind of in this strange way makes sense that all of us are looking at our time differently. We're looking at our schedules. We're looking at working differently. A lot of people have been home a lot more. So you're looking at, how are things organized in your home? Is that to your advantage? Can things be shifted? What stuff do you need and not need anymore? That's very much for energy, how we organize our lives, what helps us feel safe, how we feel safe, how secure we feel, and what work we might need to do to make things happen, to move forward. This is generally a time when there's a lot accomplished. This is generally a time when sometimes our foundation might be shaken so much that we have to create a new one. We might need to do a lot of repairs and damage control to be safer, to create more security. Okay. When you think of the 4-year, think about a table, a chair, 4 legs typically, right? And that feels very stable for us because we are very aware when one of those legs is shaky or uneven, right? So just thinking about this energy, I want you to notice how this influences you, how your concepts and approaches and practices with safety and foundation have been affected, how you earn money, how you create safety and security that way, and how that might be influenced and impacted right now. All of these things are very valid in the context of a 4 personal year. It also has us look at work differently in some ways, in bigger ways for some of you, okay? And it also has you look at where and how do you create your stability and security, sometimes, especially when we just don't know certain things. It is kind of a planning sort of year. And with that in mind, it's sometimes feeling difficult to plan because we just don't know. We just don't know how things are going to change. We don't know what we can rely on right now in a lot of ways. So I recommend some of the biggest things that you can do right now to best support yourself is in these times that are feeling very uncertain. This is a great time to be very present, to be very in your body, to use techniques, strategies, spiritual practices, therapy, whatever it is that gets you really in the moment, being in nature more, to help increase your stability, to help increase your safety, even especially in times that sometimes feel quite the opposite, okay, or not quite where we want to be with those ideas and feelings, okay. Other things we can do is, we've been hearing the word pivot a lot. How do you pivot? How do you recreate something? How do you keep building something even when oh my gosh, now this isn't reliable or this isn't there anymore. Okay. There is always a way. And as someone I know and follow, Marie Forleo, sometimes says, and she has a book about this, everything is figure outable. So we are all being asked to be creative problem solvers. 4 energy is loyal, 4 energy is hardworking, and is going to figure things out. So be committed to creative problem solving. Okay, that's another thing that can be really helpful. Yet another thing that can be helpful is looking at, no matter what's going on in your life this year, however you've been influenced or affected, how can you put yourself in the best place possible for whatever's next? Do we know whatever's next 100%? No. Do we ever? Not really. So life happens, and this is about, again, using what we can and working with what we have to be in the most stable place possible. Notice I didn't say perfect. This is not about perfection. This is about trying to be at any given moment, and as we look ahead, in the healthiest, safest place possible, whatever brings in that sense of security for you, working with these interesting energies and still taking steps forward, even when you can just plan for today. And really, all of us can just plan for today, but with some kind of looking ahead, right? We want to have some of our tools in place. We want to know how we individually can create some certainty within our own world. So how can you create certainty? How can you create safety in your own world right now and today? Okay. And then just take it step by step, right? So all of these things I think are valuable insights for our time right now. Amy, I hope I'm answering your question well enough with this. I hope that I'm helping all of you who are listening. Thank you for listening. I'd invite you to subscribe to the channel, like this video with a thumbs up below. I would so appreciate that. And if you want to learn more about numerology or other services I offer, find me at turtlehealingenergy.com. But so really the essence is put yourself in the best place possible for whatever's next in your own way, what best serves you, best serves your family and your work. Okay, so be well.